whatever. We are not scripted television. We're not scripted
Sorry, what?
We are not a scripted podcast either. Sir, what are you doing? I have started recording.
Oh, I didn't know you started.
Jesus. 24 seconds into this recording today.
Oh, hey everyone.
Hiya. Hi out there. Happy Friday. Well, for us, you might be listening to this on a different day. So
Yeah, more than likely they are.
Yeah.
Since it releases on Sunday.
Yeah, so happy Sunday.
Or whatever day you listen.
Or whatever day you choose to listen to us. Welcome, one and all. My name is Manny.
And I'm Sean.
And together we form
the Moss Podcast.
Yay, the Moss Podcast. Happy to have everyone with us. Another episode. This is a milestone.
35.
It is number 35. We have been doing this 35 episodes.
I was like, where is he going with this?
Well, it'll be almost a year in August.
It will.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, thank you to everyone who has been around since day one, or OGs, or if you've come along later on in the journey of our podcast. Welcome.
Welcome.
We have some exciting things we're working on behind the scenes, but I can't tell you. Nothing is more suspenseful than that.
No, but it'll be a good thing.
It will be a super good thing once we get it figured out.
Right.
But we can tell you that our Virgin Voyages volumes are coming along very nicely.
Yes, I would say within the next 2 weeks should launch. So
we're getting like a June launch, or enjoy your Memorial Day weekend with one of our volumes.
That makes sense. Yeah, sure.
So how's life? How's it going since the last time we sat down?
You know, life is like a box of chocolates. No, I'm kidding. It's been a good week for me. Work has been I have a little downtime, but not a lot. But it's been good. It's been an easy breezy week for me.
Easy breezy, beautiful.
No, I wasn't gonna do that. How about yourself?
I've been pretty good. Work has been busy, but not crazy, if that makes sense.
It does.
Which is a good welcome. But other than work, doing good. Happy to be here another week on the pod. I'm trying to think of anything exciting. Nothing exciting has happened.
Well, we went to go see Guardians last weekend.
Oh yeah, that was after we recorded. Yes, we went to see Guardians.
And celebrated Cinco de Mayo on Saturday.
And celebrated El 6 de Mayo.
Yes.
Yes. That was fun. We got to hang out with our bestie.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to
Corey. Yes. Now I'm going to test you and see if you really listen to the podcast. I'm just kidding. He said I can shade him on Saturday. So I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity.
Mm.
He's also going to be our partner in crime to go see Beyonce.
True.
Yeah.
Which just started.
Yeah, so just started this past week. All the videos are up.
Putting up their clips on YouTube and Twitter.
It looks cool. It looks exciting.
It does. It looks like a fun time. I'm ready.
Yeah, it looks like one of her more theatrical shows.
Everyone loves theatrics.
Everyone loves theatrics and hate when you don't dance. Apparently. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy was great.
Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a fitting end for the Guardians, since this will be the last movie in the trilogy. Very sad at times. Not spoiling anything for you guys.
I never thought I'd feel slightly emotional.
I mean, there were like a couple of times when this movie, I was like, oh my God, I'm about to cry.
I know. Oh, Rocket. I'm not going to spoil it, but oh, Rocket.
But yeah, it was a good movie. Had a good time.
And we came back home. We had some Mexican food. Margaritas in a can. Cayman, of course. Y'all already know. Sean,
if you've been around long enough, you know his obsession with Cayman.
I'm still waiting for that sponsorship, y'all. Sean's actually drinking one right now.
Yes.
I chose not to drink today. I did have one on Tuesday, though. But yeah, so it was fun to hang out with our bestie and another friend, see the movie. I felt bad. It took him like 3 hours to get to Riverview.
Yeah, traffic.
Traffic in Florida is just horrendous. Yeah. I'm sure it is everywhere.
Pretty much, yes.
But we have no other alternative here. No. It's just get in your car or wait 5 hours at a bus stop. So
yeah, pretty much.
But anyways, we hope all of you out there are doing good and fighting the good fight of what we call life. So we're going to jump right into our issue on the table.
So what are we talking about, Dano?
Oh, don't use my line. How dare you? That is copywritten. So in the spirit of mental health, we will continue our mental health. Last week, we brought you the giggles for mental health.
The giggles.
At least when I listened back to it, I couldn't stop laughing at some of the stupid things I said. And maybe I'm just funny to myself. I'm not sure. But I hope y'all enjoyed it. But this week, we're going to focus more on mental health and our mental health journey.
Yes, because it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we want to bring some mental health tips or talk about it in each pod this month.
Yeah, so we know there's a lot of misconceptions or stigma around mental health.
All the things.
I think there's a lot of, you only seek mental health when you're like at level 10.
Right.
Which is like ultimate crazy, or your marriage is on the cusp of ending, things like that.
Right.
So growing up, did you ever feel that way about mental health?
About mental health? Well, growing up, I never really thought about mental health, to be honest with you. I grew up in the country.
You finally admitted it on the podcast, episode 35. Go ahead.
I never denied that I grew up in the country.
Whatever. Every time I say you were on a farm.
I didn't grow up on a farm. There's a difference. But yeah, my family is Southern Baptist, so I spent a majority of my time in church, and religion in itself can be very dismissive of like therapy and therapists. A lot of times if you're going through things, they ask you to pray about it and ask God about it. And which is all well and fine. I'm not taking anything away from people who are religious or go to church or believe in God or any of that stuff. But yeah, it was just never a topic of conversation in the household or something that I grew up knowing about until I got much older.
Right.
How about you?
I would say pretty much the same. Like, if you ever referenced it or saw it referenced growing up, it was more so like, that's for problems.
Yeah.
And even though, a mental health condition could be seen as a problem or an illness, you don't want to apply that negative stigma that I felt when I was growing up, because, all mental health illnesses look different. All mental health issues look different from person to person. But growing up, you always saw it as the most extreme thing. You only went there when it was bad.
Right.
And to your point, I grew up very Catholic. that a thing? Very Catholic.
Yes.
So some of the same things, to pray on it. And what passage of the Bible can we discuss to help us get through this point of your life?
Right. Which, again, there is nothing wrong with leaning on your faith when you are going through these struggles. But just like, if you had an issue internally with your body, you could still pray on it, but you still going to the doctor.
Right.
To figure out what is going on with you.
Right.
So it's the same thing with mental health. And I find it funny how some people will treat their regular health better than they do their mental health, and thinking that it is not something that you also need to take care of and work on and grow and nurture, because you do.
Right. And maybe it's not seen, like when you and I were growing up, obviously social media was not a thing.
Thank God.
But nowadays, when you look at social media and you see some posts, people's like, oh, the gym is my mental health, or whatever activity they find. And though, we've talked on the pod here that those are good outlets for your mental health, it's not solving or getting to the root cause of why you might have the mental health. And I feel like a lot of people now that lean on social media, they use that as a reference point of, see, I don't need to go get mental health. I can just go to the gym every day. Or I can go do this activity. I can go shoot my gun at the gun range or whatever, So I think now it's even more different for probably the younger generation, where they find all these things on social media that might not be helpful in the quest to identify.
No, if anything, I feel like social media is a double-edged sword, right? Because on the one hand, you can get on there and you can find help, you can find outlets, you can find like-minded people that may be going through some of the things that you were going through. But social media can also be the cause of strain on your mental health as well.
Yeah. So it sounds like we both had kind of same experiences growing up around stigma that mental health has around and continues to have, I think. I think we've made some strides, but I think there's still a large portion of stigma on mental health in general.
I feel like now, in this time, just because there's been such a heavy focus on mental health and making people more aware of mental health, things are better. But I'm sure there are still households where it is the same thing. You just don't talk about it. We pray about it. Or, therapists are for those who are schizophrenic or extremely mentally ill.
Yeah. Can't function in society.
Right.
Essentially. And this is probably a hard question, because I myself growing up didn't ever identify things that I was doing as a child, whereas I developed into my early 20s. That was mental health. Like I never thought of some of the actions or the way I responded to things were part of mental health journey. Did you growing up, did you ever?
No, because we're not taught those things. So if you were feeling some sort of way, and you didn't know exactly how to handle it, or you didn't really want to talk to your parents about it, it was just things that you bottled up, and you learned to deal with it on your own. Again, because...
And that's where you kind of start developing those bad
habits that you later in life will deal with in therapy.
Yeah, and I think... Oh, did you? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, that's no fault to our parents or how you were raised, because they were brought up the same way. Like it's just passed down from generation to generation, and I feel like every generation gets a little bit better. And I feel like where we are now, we're all more aware of mental health, and we're all more aware of issues that we may have, whether it be anxiety, depression, or you just can't stand these damn kids. Like everyone is more self-aware of themselves and self-care, because all of that is part of mental health.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely as a kid didn't really, like, I knew I had struggles, but I didn't know what it was. So I just put it in a little compartment, dealt with it probably the most incorrect way possible. And yes, I agree with you that many of the things we pick up through our childhood, adulthood, or early adulthood comes from familiar backgrounds, families. But that is, like you said, no disrespect. No, it's not the fault of our families.
Yeah,
because like you said, they did grow up probably in the same environment.
Yeah,
that's how they learned to parent, and that's how they parented us. So it's not a negative. It's just everybody can use some mental health.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So, at least for me, my mental health journey did not start till much later in my life.
Same.
And, there's a lot of factors for me. I still had much of the stigma of growing up, seeing that mental health really wasn't health. It was more so like, you're crazy. And so I uncovered it much later in life. And I think some of the other things that kept me from going forward was the cost. Cost is a barrier. Coverage from our insurance companies, and also finding a therapist.
Yeah, those were the hurdles for me as well. When I first thought about seeing a therapist, I was intimidated because I was like, and this was, before everybody was remote and you could do everything over Zoom or whatever. I was like, I have to find one that's local and someone that's probably close by, so that, I will have time to get over to them or whatever that fits into my schedule. And 2, I wanted to find someone who was like me. And I think that it's not everything, but I feel like it's an important part of finding a therapist, because I didn't want to have to explain what it's like to be Black and gay in America. Yeah. I didn't want to have to explain that experience. I would rather have my therapist be either Black or part of the community, because they already know, they already are ingrained in that, because they also grew up that way. So those factors, that was a tall order within itself. And it just made it feel like impossible when I first started.
Yeah. I mean, I started many of times searching for a therapist, and then I would just get overwhelmed. And that was part of my mental health too. But it was overwhelming to go on there and look and see, like, I don't know shit about these people. But like you, I did have a list of things that were important to me in a therapist, and it was somebody that understood my culture. Because like you said, when you come from a different background and somebody who is not knowing or exposed to that background, it is like you're explaining yourself twice.
Right.
Because I felt that by having a therapist that was at least Latino, they would understand the cultural norms that come with Latinos.
Right.
Which is different amongst all races. Not being a racist here or anything like that. I'm just saying that, the way Latino families grow up are probably closer to how African American families grow up. Whereas, a Pacific Islander or an Asian person might grow up differently from a Latino or a Black. So for that was important to me. I'm like, I don't want to have to re-explain what's happening, plus how this may have come from my background.
Right.
And like you, I wanted somebody who was at least aware of or has worked with LGBTQ people, because that's another part of my life I didn't feel like having to explain. And I know all therapists are trained to handle all types of people, but it's good to have somebody who knows you, or at least has an understanding of who you are.
Right.
Without having to double explain who you are.
Yeah. And you're just eating up more of my time
Right.
when I have to explain how certain things affect me or how I feel about certain things because of my race or my identity. And if my therapist is already a person that knows these experiences, it just makes it easier. At least that's the way I saw it and I approached it.
Right. And those were assumptions on our end when we...
Very much assumptions, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it made sense to me. Like, I'm like, I need somebody, because therapy is being very vulnerable. Like, you are here literally telling somebody you just met
your business.
Your business.
All your business.
Like, you know, I have best friends that I'll talk to, but even then there's things that I keep to myself. No disrespect to my besties out there. I'm sorry. But
everybody does that.
Right. So there are some things that I just keep to myself, but sometimes it's like, okay, I need to talk about this. So I wanted to make sure, I could feel comfortable and be able to break that vulnerableness, because it is very vulnerable.
It is.
The process.
It very much is.
So we searched therapists on our own. I used my insurance. You used yours?
Yeah. So the company that I was working for at the time when I started, or the reason why I started the search again is because the company I was working for, they paid for therapy like 100%. So there was like no out of pocket for me.
Yeah, no excuse.
And when I found that out, I was like, okay, now we really gonna find a therapist. And this was, around pandemic or after pandemic time.
It was like 2021.
Yeah. So a lot of things had switched over to being able to do them.
2020, sorry. It was
2020. A lot of things had switched over to be able to do them over teledoc or Zoom or video, whatever. It was a lot easier to find a therapist and not worry about where they were. So that was one step down. Got it. I did a couple of searches on something that the company provided for us, where the insurance would be taken. And, you could search by male, female, what kind of patients they work with, which I thought was super helpful.
Yeah.
That they had filters. And I found this one guy and I was like, he kind of lines up and matches with everything that I'm looking for. He was Latino. He was part of the community. He has worked with the community. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give him a try. He was accepting new patients. And we kind of just hit it off right off the bat, which I was also nervous about because I've heard of people finding a therapist, meeting with them, and they don't click.
Yeah.
And so then you have to start the search all over again.
Yeah, and it feels like a wasted session. Like,
right.
I could have been working towards progress, but...
Right. But I mean, finding the right therapist for you is like finding the shoe that fits. It might happen to you on the first time. It might not. It might take you a few sessions before you realize that this really isn't the person for me because they're not understanding whatever the reason may be. So yes, you would have to go back to the drawing board and start over. But in my opinion, I feel like it's worth it to be able to be matched up with someone that gets you and you get them. Because it is a relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, we did click. And the reason why I started the search again is because of an event that happened in my life that I really needed some guidance and clarification for. But I mean, that might have been the, what is the word?
The catalyst.
The catalyst. Yes, that is the word. That might have been the catalyst for me to start looking for a therapist again. But there were other issues that I worked on with my therapist that, you know, I probably should have worked on a long time ago. But because I found someone that gets me and I like them and we have a good rapport with each other, I was able to open up about other things. So the one event was the catalyst for me to start the mental health journey. I'm glad I did, because I learned a lot about myself and some of the other things that I needed to work on, and got some tools to do that. And, you know, still continue to this day. How about you?
Well, thank you. I thought you'd never ask.
Shade.
So I used my insurance as well to search. I was like Googling these people with I was just a private detective here trying to find my therapist, and the ones that were covered 100% were very few.
Mm.
The ones that weren't covered 100%, there was an abundant amount of them, but I really wanted to try to keep it within the cost parameters of my insurance.
Yeah.
But my goodness, I found a Latino. He wasn't part of the LGBTQ community, but he has worked a lot with the LGBTQ community. So I'm like, I'm gonna give this person a try. We gonna see. And lucky enough, I too, from the beginning, hit it off with my. That doesn't sound right. I hit it off with my therapist.
I mean, it is the proper term though. Like it. Like you either hit it off with someone or you don't.
Right. Like the connection was there from day one. He let me be myself in our conversations, which I appreciated, because I thought I was going to have to go into therapy. And y'all know, if you've been in this pod long enough, I cuss a lot. And sorry, Mom. But I didn't want to have to change who I was because I felt I was going to have to be professional in this therapy session. And I don't know if some therapists are like that. I don't know. I just know my guy. He was just cool about it.
I feel like that also may be another boundary or stigma about therapy, is people feel like they have to be professional or speak a certain way. And that's truly the opposite of therapy. Like, you need to go in raw in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Continue.
No, it's okay. So I definitely hit it off from him. And like you started going before me. And then a while later, I'm like, I guess I should really do this. And like you, there was a catalyst that sprung me into therapy. But the best part of choosing to go do it was that even though that one thing in life was a catalyst to bridge, but like you, I saw so much more about myself that needed fixing beyond that catalyst.
Right.
That led me there. Because at one point I was like, well, damn, I just got more issues than this catalyst that's brought me here to deal with. So yeah, I hit it off from the beginning with ours, but it's important, if you're going to start your journey, it may not happen on your first one, and that's okay. Don't give up from that point. Because I was ready to, if it didn't work out for the first one, I was ready to tap into those people that weren't covered 100% with my insurance. So much so that my therapist has moved away from the insurance that I have, and I have paid the full price for the session just because this person already knows. I don't want to have to re-explain. But it was such a joy to work with somebody who understood my culture, because he could bring experiences from his family as well, from his growing up, that just helped me put things into perspective when we were working together.
Right. Another misconception I think a lot of people have about therapy is that it's all going to be sadness and woohoo and boohoo and crying. And it is some of that, but it's not the entirety of it. It is more about you. It's all about you.
100.
This person is unbiased. They don't know the people you're talking about. If you're talking about anyone, they are there to help you figure out your issues or the things that are going on in your life and what may be causing that, and trying to get to the root of that problem, and not necessarily solving them, but giving you the tools to be able to handle those issues or problems when they arise, and helping you to get to a better you, a better version of you. I am so thankful because I've learned so much. I've been in therapy for over a year, and there are so many things that, I'm going in thinking we're going to talk about one thing, and it flips and turns into a whole different thing that I didn't even think about, which is another thing that I love about therapy is it helps you see the different sides of yourself. And to work on things that you might not even thought were things that you needed to work on. But through talking and figuring out, you do certain things or there's certain patterns, like therapists are able to figure things out or ask you questions that make you think about things differently, which me first going to therapy, I was like you, I was nervous. I didn't know if I wanted how much I wanted to divulge. But then it's like you're talking to an old friend that sometimes it's just like this person is here to listen to me and give me their unbiased opinions, and they're here to help me. So I should be opening up to them and telling them the things that I'm telling them.
Thank you for that. Anything else you wanted to say on that?
No.
Awesome. So, yeah, being vulnerable is very important, I think, with your therapist. And like you said, I myself also, to share my experience, always thought I was going in with a little list of what I wanted to talk about. And it would turn very quickly into something else. Like they would be like, hold on, I want to back up to something you just said. And then you go down that rabbit hole. Yeah. My therapist from day one found out or called me out. He's like, you're talking in absolutes. And I had not a fucking clue what that meant. Did you know that? Do you know what absolute?
I mean, I do now.
Okay, so prior to therapy, you didn't.
No, I had probably heard people say it, but like not really paid it any attention.
Yeah, like I never fucking. I'm like, what do you mean absolutes? What are you talking? So a lot of my therapy sessions were correcting the way I was talking. And let me tell you, you may hate your therapist at some moments. I don't know about you. And I didn't hate him as like a mean hate, but I'm like, you motherfucker, I don't agree with you. But honestly, it was really, he was telling the truth.
Yeah, I mean, they will call you out for wrongdoing, I will say.
Yeah, like the first session, I was taken back. I'm like, okay. Whoops. How do I rephrase that then? So definitely in your experience, there may be moments you're not only being vulnerable, but there's also moments of you may not agree with what your therapist is saying. It won't be till later on where you sit back and reflect what they were saying that you're like, oh, damn, motherfucker was right. I don't know how many times I had to go back and tell my therapist, I'm like, yeah, you was right. It's fine. Can we move on? And he'd be like, what was I right about? I'm like, nothing. Can we talk about something else? But no, so they are quick to like find things. You sometimes don't even have to say much, and they can start picking things apart and guiding you without you even knowing that you needed to talk about a certain thing. So that was kind of the start of our journey. You know, I started weekly. Did you start weekly?
Yes, I was on weekly. Was it weekly? It was either weekly or bi-weekly.
Yeah, I started weekly. I was in bad shape.
Yeah. There was a point where I was weekly as well because we were dealing with an issue. But you know, it depends on what it is that you are going to therapy for. Your therapist may recommend seeing you once a week, or they may recommend seeing you once a month. It just depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started once a week, and then we graduated to every other week. Then we graduated to monthly.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I try to do like quarterly.
Yeah, I think I'm on like every 3 months now.
Yeah.
So.
But this was a span of almost 2 years of work.
Yeah.
So something about therapy that I think we can both agree on is it's not you just go in, you talk to this person, and then you're done.
No.
There is work that comes out of therapy.
There's work to do.
And it's not hard homework, but it's definitely applying the stuff that you learn through your therapy and using the tools that they provide to you.
Yes. And like Manny said earlier, you can also get called out for that as well if you don't do the work. Because I have not done the work sometimes, and you know, that's on me. Because again, all of this is for you. So when you're not doing the work, you're just really hurting yourself or putting yourself a step back.
Yeah. So I think it's something else you want to consider. It shouldn't be the thing that keeps you from therapy, but in our journeys, it was work to get to where we're at now, I think. Not only going to the session, but applying, like, for me, it was like learning how to not always talk in absolutes, which I know sometimes I still do. One thing my therapist taught me is we don't shoot for perfection. We shoot for proficiency. Because, you know, we're not perfect.
No one is.
No one is. So working on absolutes was rough for me because my whole life, 30 some plus years, was talking in absolutes. And now you're telling me that I should not be talking like that to people. Was like, bitch, what?
Yes. I mean, a lot of times you're going to have to change your mindset, and they will help you do that or give you the tools to help you do that. We're not making you a different person per se. We're just helping you deal with your mental health a bit better.
Yeah. What would you say were some of the most useful
I'm sorry, what?
And I didn't drink. What are some of the useful tools your therapist has given you that you still kind of carry with you even now?
It's funny you say that because I had them in my head and then they kind of went away. We worked on kind of like you with the absolutes. We worked on intrusive thoughts and learning when something was, you know, something that I was either not completely like making up in my mind, but like thinking errors. That's what I lost. We worked a lot on thinking errors because a lot of times people will overthink things or think a certain way about either a certain person or a certain situation, and that necessarily might not be the way it is, but in your head, you are thinking that way. So we call those thinking errors. So those still happen from time to time, and I have to correct myself. and use my tools and think about things in a different way, and making sure that, I'm not getting in my head about certain situations, because I would do that and think, oh my God, this is this, when in all actuality, it probably isn't that way at all.
Yeah.
How about you?
So I think for me, that was kind of similar to, besides trying to learn how to rephrase my talking. I use the thought record a lot, which kind of morphed into journaling. It was a very extensive worksheet. It was like grade school level, where what is going on in this moment? What are the facts you have to prove that that's real?
Right.
What are the emotions you're feeling in the moment, or feelings? So thought records helped me a lot, because I too overthink 100%. But after doing the thought record, you get to the end of it and you're like, oh, well, this doesn't seem plausible. How did I get myself so hyped up about that? So I think the thought records were a huge tool that he provided me to work through. And also the wheel of, is it emotions or feelings? I cannot remember. I have it in my phone because I did save it. Because you never know when you're going to go into a set of
Emotions.
It's just emotions taking me over. Oh, I thought you would have jumped in. Because I'm still trying to find this piece of paper.
I don't want to get copyright strike.
Oh, we can get you over that?
I'm kidding.
Bitch, I don't sound anything like her. I'm so far from it.
It's just the cover.
Anyways, okay. Well, I can't find it. It was either emotions or feelings, because I would always say I'm like angry. And he was like, well, what does that mean? And there's so many things that fall under what anger can reflect.
Right.
That was just something I didn't know, as silly as it sounds. But being able to really understand the feeling or emotion I was having, it wasn't angry, it was other things, which led into more conversations of like self-esteem issues that I've grown up with, body issues, et cetera, et cetera. But I was able to pinpoint with that wheel what my real feelings and emotions were versus me just being angry.
Right. And kind of the same. There was another thing that I talked to my therapist about, was like holding in feelings or emotions and not expressing them. And
Same.
He talked to me about being a caretaker, where I take care of everyone around me, but I don't necessarily take care of myself emotionally. And so learning to navigate that and know when I'm doing it and know when I need to let that go was another thing that we worked on.
Yeah. I think those are all really good tools. It's eye-opening. Some of the things are simple that they tell you, but you just don't think of them because you've grown up, you've been molded into these things.
Right.
And that's all you know. Like, so I found the wheel. Here's the wheel. Nobody can see it. But like when I would say angry, under angry, there's other things that fall in. Let down, frustrated, distant, critical, betrayed, resentful, disrespected, so on. So these are all things that fall under angry. And he's like, you're not angry. These are the things you are according to the situation we were talking about. And that, I mean, it's a fucking wheel. But it was so eye-opening for me because I was able to actually channel and understand what I was feeling versus just saying, I'm angry.
Right.
So I think that was another great tool that I got. So that's been our mental health journey. It has been amazing. It has made me a better person. I am less anxious than I used to be. I'm able to now vocalize when I'm feeling a certain way, which I wasn't before. On the weekends, I'll be like, okay, now we gotta go outside, we gotta go walk, we gotta do something because I can feel the funks coming on. I call them funks. I feel those moments of like mental health deteriorating, and it can just happen in any particular moment, which is really like, does that happen to you?
I maybe, but differently.
Yeah, like for me, I can be like super jolly in the morning, and something. I sometimes I have to think back what may have triggered it. Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes I just fall into a state of
For me, it's more of I've learned not to hold on to emotions and let them out in a good way where it is where it's proactive,
mm,
where it's not causing an issue, but like I'm not holding on to it, which causes me to feel or put me in a funk, so to say. But letting it out and letting it be known that, hey, this is how I feel right now, and work through it.
yeah. Definitely also setting boundaries for me have been something I've worked on and I think has helped. Like, people like to, and this is not a disrespect, like people will come to me, talk to me about their issues. And I'm not saying I'm a therapist, but, people value your opinion sometimes. And sometimes I'm just not in a headspace to support that. And whereas before, when I was in a bad headspace, I'd still try to tackle somebody's challenge or whatever. I've learned through therapy that, if you're not in the space to respond to that text, don't respond.
Right.
There's tomorrow. Deal with what you're dealing with, and then you can go back. So that's been a little harder than other things I've worked on, because when you start dealing with people outside of your bubble, you're kind of like, well, I don't want to piss somebody off. But then we've also learned through therapy that you can't, what is it? You can't help the way people.
You can't control the way
That
someone is going to react.
That part.
That part.
Yeah, so I can't, I have to say what I have to say. As long as I'm saying it in a nice, non-demeaning way, I can't help. I can't help the way the person takes that.
Yes. Me and my therapist have had a whole session about you can't control the way someone is going to react, but that shouldn't stop you from expressing the way you feel.
Right. So, I mean, for me, therapy has been a wonderful experience. The only regret I have is not starting it sooner.
Same.
I'm like, all those years that have gone by.
But then if we had started early, you might not have the therapist that you have today.
That is true. That is very, very true. So, I mean, this is just the surface for us in terms of our mental health journey. We just wanted to semi-share our stories and hopefully uplift other people that are looking to therapy, unsure about it, or if you stopped and you're unsure if you should restart. I mean, the value of it is there. I think you and I have become huge advocates for mental health since going through this process. So we encourage everybody to seek therapy whenever needed. Or sometimes you may not even feel you need it, but book you a session and I'm sure your therapist will help you work through something.
Yes. And if cost is an issue, there are a ton of free resources out there. If you search in your area, I know we have a couple here in the Tampa Bay area. You might not get every session for free, but they at least start you off with a couple of free sessions. Because I know that can also be a barrier, like we said earlier. But do the research, get out there. They have made things so much easier now in terms of finding.
Yeah, I think
therapy.
COVID helped.
Yeah, for sure.
If a good thing came out of COVID, it was almost. There's so many apps now. to find a therapist. There's some, I think I saw one that was just texting.
Yep. There's a Talks. I think Talkspace also is like texting and the video conferencing.
Yeah.
But
so there's all kinds of resources out there. If you follow our social, we've been trying to post things every day. Obviously, free stuff depends on states.
Yeah.
Which state wants to give money for such things. But definitely talk to your primary care physician, or if you know somebody in healthcare, they might have recommendations. The goal of us sharing is to say that we did it, and so can you.
And it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah, it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to go to therapy. There's nothing wrong with it, regardless of how you grew up and the stigma you may have or have seen growing up. Break that wall. Be the first generation of your family to go to therapy.
Hey.
Yeah, we hope you've enjoyed this episode.
Yes.
It's been nice. Maybe someday we'll share more what our catalyst was.
Oh.
But
the tea.
That catalyst is just going to stay in a book for right now. If you ever find my journal, you'll get the whole tea.
How will they find it?
They're going to have to be in my house. So, and then find whatever book that is, because it's kind of conspicuous.
Okay.
But we hope you've enjoyed this episode. A little humor, but a little seriousness. I think it's important for people to share their mental health journeys, because at least for me, when I share it, I hope it at least touches one person to encourage them to go to therapy. And I think last year at my 1 year, I posted something on Instagram and I had a few people reach out. It's like, oh, I stopped going. You've got me back into wanting to go to therapy. So I'm hoping it launches somebody that listens to us. If you need it, do it. And go in with an open mind. You don't need a schedule. You don't need a route. You just go in and start talking. The session will be done before you know it.
Right.
And you'll be like, oh, shit.
Yeah, the time does fly by.
Yeah. I don't know how many times I went in. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about today. And the hour's over. We're talking about rescheduling for the next week. All right, sir. So we're going to close the issue on the table. Any last words on our pod today?
No real last words. Just make sure you're taking care of your mental health, whatever that means to you. And remember that self-care is also a part of mental health. So make sure you're taking the time out for yourself, doing something good for yourself.
Oh my God, did we say that here?
How about you?
So yeah, I do the phrase work towards proficiency, not perfection, has been ingrained in my brain. So I say that to you as my last word. Like, I know we all have desires to impress family members or live up to their level of where we should be at in our lives. But understand that we're all human and we're being the most proficient person we can be in the moments of our lives. So I think I would say, because that was probably one of my issues too growing up, was I just wanted to make my parents proud.
Same.
And I think a lot of us experience that. And, I think if you really sit back and reflect, your parents probably are very proud of where you've been and accomplished so far. And you might just be holding yourself to, what's the word? Perfection.
Yes.
But those are my words. We don't have corners this week because we did a giant corner for the issue on the table.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for us this week on the Moss podcast. We have lots of social for you.
You can follow us on Instagram at Moss_podcast.
Or Twitter, who has a new CEO. Or TikTok, Moss_podcast22.
And you can email us at mannyandsean@gmail.com, MANNYANDSHAWN
That's a much nicer speed.
Yeah.
Or if you want to listen to us on YouTube, you're like, fuck this podcast on this Spotify. We also stream on YouTube at youtube.com/@MossPodcast. We also post special videos on there. We also do shorts. So definitely check it out. You get to see our faces a lot more instead of this still picture you're staring at right now. Don't forget to also follow us on your favorite streaming platform or subscribe to us on YouTube to receive alerts when our podcast drops. Search us, Manny and Sean.
Yeah, don't forget to write a review and rate us on those platforms to help grow our pod.
Yeah, write a review, damn it. And as we say here on the Moss Podcast,
do something good for yourself, self-care.
Yes, then do something good for someone else. Boo, 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 boo. Episode 35 in the books, y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do for self-care right now?
What you going to do?
I'm going to end this podcast and I'm going to go get me some soft serve with peanut butter and Oreo because why? I treat myself at least once a week because I try to eat well the rest of the week. So that's my self-care. Oh, no, we're getting massages tomorrow. Is it tomorrow?
That's next week.
Oh, God damn. Here I thought I was getting a nice massage this weekend. Anyways, well, self-care to the ice cream. Here we go. And then the massage will be next week. Massages are great, y'all. Get you a massage is the most relaxing thing ever.
It is.
Oof. Oh, man, I already felt this hot stones on my back.
You just got another week.
That's a whole nother 7 days. Damn. All right. Well, we're out of here. Have a great week. Go get some damn soft serve. You get some soft serve too. Stop worrying about your damn weight. Go get a soft serve. If you want some soft serve, get some soft serve. If you want some McDonald's French fries, get you some McDonald's French fries. This life is just way too short. All right, y'all. I'm out here because I guess I'm rambling and Sean is looking at me like I'm crazy. Just wait till the day we bring this pod to video. You're going to be concerned for us. All right, so we'll be out of here. I wish you well. She literally says that line after that.
Okay, but you was trying to sing a Janet song earlier, and it was like, it's literally the same thing you just said. You was like, I don't know the rest of the song.
Well, I didn't. And I don't know the rest of this one either.
Bye.
Anyways, bye.